Let's talk about Pakistan today. For me, every time I heard a Pakistani speaking, it sounds like Jambale Pangale Pakistani. And now we're gonna talk about the population. Let's see how well they're doing. Now, pretty much, let's say more than a quarter of the billion people in such a small area, comparison, like I said, with a quarter of the billion people living in this area, which is, in my opinion, kind of insane. But the good news is the growing rate is on a down trajectory. Even the overall growth it's on the up trajectory, but it's not gonna last for longer. So now let's go into numbers. Back then in 1955, 40 million people, and now 255 million people, which is insane, but it is what it is, I guess. Back then, 2.2, 2.3% growing population, now 1.57. Clearly a declining, but you can see here back then the yearly net change was around less than a million people, let's call it like that. Now it's almost 4 million, so kind of insane in my opinion. Also, migrants on negative, and I can confirm that probably because most of them they are in Europe, and quite a few of them in my country too. So I'm sure about those numbers. So clearly, population living, people leaving Pakistan because clearly they have worse conditions than other countries. So they find the solution to go out to just make some more money and send them back home, and pretty much that's what they're doing. Median age, well, that's something interesting, I would say. 18 years old, and now it's pretty much, let's say, 21, so not that much change. And so clearly, you can see this boom population is still continuing even today because the population is still very young. What I'm interesting is here 20% in urban area, now only 35%, so still very low. We're gonna look in the next video after I make this one about exactly how they live, because I am actually curious. I don't expect much to see. And also the org global rank back then was 14 and now it's 5, so clearly they are on the up trajectory, I would say. Fertility rate, look at this one, 6.8 1955, 2025 3.5, so clearly change is coming to Pakistan. Probably by the end of the century they're gonna go below replacement 100%, even much lower than replacement rate, probably around 1.5, but we're gonna see that. Now let's look in the future, in the next 25 years. The population is still on the growing rate for around 370 million actually people, and the yearly change is gonna be 1.3%, let's call it like that. And also look at these numbers, 4.6 million net change, which is insane in my opinion. But look at this one. Now, after, especially in the pandemic, they have around 1.3, 1.6, 1.7 million people leaving the country, and in the next 25 years they're gonna have around 500,000, I would say, leaving the country, 500,600,000 around that. So clearly, probably most likely the lifestyle there is gonna improve. That's I would say a metric that kind of, in my opinion, says something. Now the median age, well, that's something interesting. Remember 1955 18 and 2025 20, let's call it 21. So 3 years in change. But now in the next 25 years, from 21 to 26, you have 5 years. So that's interesting to see, because probably by the 2050 I would say we're gonna be more realistic around 30 years old. So clearly clearly change. And by 2050 I suspect that this 2.5 2.6 fertility rate is gonna go, probably in my opinion, around 1.8 1.1. That means it's gonna be below replacement, so the population is gonna start going down with time, of course, not immediately, which is a good thing. Now urban area, 43-45%, probably is gonna be around 50, I would say. People are moving to the cities, and that's a good thing. Now look at these numbers. Life expectancy. Now I believe life expectancy is not supposed to be that high if you want to have a good life. That's probably just me. Now for both sexes it's gonna be 68, let's call it, years old, female 70, and males 65. So actually not that much difference between female and males. Actually, in a country like this I expected to see a much more difference, but no, clearly women's and men's pretty much, I would say, work almost the same jobs, because clearly it's not that much difference between them. Infant mortality rate and death under age of 5, 48 and 57, not even mentioning. I mean, just clearly huge problem in the medical system and how they raise kids there, how they take caring of them, especially in the first 5 years. Clearly not that many conditions to raise kids there. So yeah, these numbers gonna reflect that. Let's look at the history just a bit of it, because Pakistan, especially in that area, we're gonna talk about the area this time. We're gonna see, probably, look at this, about the not most, but from the first oldest, let's say, civilization that existed on this planet, at least from what we know so far. Probably in the future, who knows, maybe you could have some, I heard some rumors that they discovered some 40,000 years old civilization in the South America. So that, but they don't have exactly the confirmation yet, but they're gonna look into that. So that's fine. That's actually something very interesting. They waiting for a confirmation. They already have, let's say, the evidence, but clearly if you go with a bump like this, you need strong evidence, and everybody has to be on the same page. So clearly in the next few years, probably we're gonna see some changes in history books, which is gonna be interesting to see. But now back to Pakistan, you can see Indus Valley civilization, one of the oldest one, and clearly in that area there has been civilization for a long time. And again, like I say in all those videos, it doesn't mean if you have the first civilization on the planet, it doesn't mean you're gonna be today the most advanced one. And Pakistan is just proof of that. Clearly that doesn't mean that much. It means something for the history book, but not enough to just justify the today life, I would say. But now look, I see the changes always there. Remember the British, yeah, I'm gonna see probably around very soon. I'm gonna see, look at this, the British Empire. If you didn't know, India and Pakistan used to be under British occupation. Look at this, British India, and they have the Pakistan in the same area. That's why they love cricket, which is a sport that I cannot understand it, but clearly it is very popular. I think this is the third or second in the world most popular sport. So clearly a lot of people loving it. So yeah, they got independence in 1973 according to this map. Okay, so let's go back a bit. From, not my mistake, from 1956. So clearly 1947. Clearly after the World War II ended, everybody knows the British win the war, but they lost the empire. So yeah, fast forward to today, they have some conflict with India, obviously, always does, but probably they're gonna fix the problem. Who knows? Maybe with a war, maybe with another war. Depends on them. So yeah, in the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, that clearly it's a Muslim country. In Pakistan, what we can say, probably I have a lot of viewers from Pakistan. I check my analytic. India mostly, and also Pakistan, I have a lot of them. Now, what I'm curious is how exactly you see your country in the next, let's say, 25 years. Not go too much in the future, because it kind of came pointless after 25 years, I would say. Because in my opinion, if keep in mind, if in those the next 25 years we somehow manage to keep the World War III, let's say, push forward, how could I call it this, push much more in the future than we are that close today. Let's say it's peace in this region. They have some minor conflict with India, but nothing to be scared, I would say. I am curious how this, obviously they're gonna advance. There's no way they're gonna any civilization advance. How much they're gonna bring to the stage world, I would say, besides cheap labor. That's something that's you have to keep in mind. And keep in mind, look at this, 250 million people live in just small area compared with India. India is much bigger, obviously, in population, but look at this, a small area, and most of them don't live in an urban area. We're gonna look at that with Google in the next video immediately. That's something interesting, I would say, in my opinion. But yeah, if you live there in India, clearly not a good way of life right now, because I can see I can see a lot of them just delivering food here in my country. A lot of them coming from Sri Lanka and also Pakistan and Bangladesh, but people don't believe me, but they do. I am curious how exactly they're gonna, because clearly they're gonna work here, they're gonna earn some money, they're gonna send back home the money, and families there are gonna develop on those monies that they make it here. So I am curious how that is gonna play in the future. Clearly the population is still gonna go up for a while. They're gonna go down. Clearly they just show signs of going down in population, in slowing down in the fertility rate. I would say population is still, obviously, look at this, just trajectory, it's up to the roof, but by the end of century clearly it's gonna go down 100%. I don't think they're gonna hit 400 million people, so probably by the end of the century it's gonna be around as is today, most likely, I would say, but that's a speculation in my opinion. Now, like I say, I am curious how exactly the average guy look at his life, especially if you are, let's say, the median age. If you are 20 years old, 21 years old right now, how exactly do you see your future in the next 25 years? Because clearly a lot of them choose to leave the country, and usually that's not a good sign for development of the country. Now, obviously, probably a lot of doctors, they go in Europe, study here, and a few of them go back, a few of them choose to stay, and also engineers. But I am curious how exactly the country is gonna develop, and how exactly you see that, especially because, like I say, 20 years old, 21 years old, you're very young, and probably you're gonna be the backbone in the next few years. So that's important, exactly how you see. So yeah, for this video, that's it. The next one, clearly, as we got used to it by now, we're gonna look exactly with Google Earth and Street View, especially if I don't know how many data we have. Clearly not that many data, so clearly that's a government, let's say, not forbidden, but let's call it restriction. And we're gonna look exactly how they live there, because I'm actually curious, especially because not many of them living in urban areas. So we're gonna see probably in those small villages a lot of people. So yeah, I am interested with that. And for this video, I would say that's it. Prepare for war, I would say, not from Pakistani, but from the world stage one, I'm talking about with the rest of the viewers. The war is coming, it's just a matter of time, and we're gonna see how exactly that is gonna play in the next few years.